And welcome back, guys, to another episode of Let's Play Katawa Shoujo. In the last part, we hung out with Lily, Kenji, and Hanako for a little while there, fixing up and finishing off their contribution to the festival. And now it is the next day, and we've gone out for a run, but I think we're pretty tuckered out. We don't want to hurt ourselves too much, because the last time we ended up at the nurse's office. So we're just going to take it easy. I let Emmy go with her own pace, and she doesn't show mercy, pulling half a lap ahead of me in an instant. I don't blame her. I mean, it's not as if I'm really putting up any sort of real fight out here, is it? Instead, I'm just running at a steady pace, which is what I should be doing, right? There's no need to go pushing my limits at this stage of the game. God, is this even worth it? As we finish the second lap, I break off again. Emmy keeps going, and it almost seems to me that she's disappointed. Well, that's stupid. I don't have anything to prove to her. Come to think of it, I've got nothing to prove to myself either. I'm just fine the way I am. And what I'm not is a runner. Jesus, the interesting thing about choosing these things always is the fact of how, like, super definitive he is about it. It's just sort of like, you know what? I'm embracing the fact that running is stupid right off the bat. He's like, I'm perfectly fine the way that I am. I shouldn't have to adopt this. And you're just like, okay, whoa. Don't make that decision so rashly. But I digress. And what I am not is a runner. This was probably a bad idea. Maybe there's something else I could do instead of this. Getting up this early sucks anyway. There's got to be some other way to keep healthy. Walking, maybe. Nice afternoon walks. Yeah, that sounds good. Running isn't for me. I wave to Emmy and head back to my room. I'll think of something else later. Back in my room, the first thing I see is the familiar roll of medication bottles lined up on the top of my dresser, and it makes me depressed as usual. It's annoying. I thought I was okay. I thought I had made my peace with this thing. Gotten over it. But what I really did, I allowed myself to forget that I have a problem. Being here really reminds me of the reality, and trying to fight against it just hurts. Reflecting on it is only going to do so much. I've done this before for months. It seems like it's time to get over it. If I allow myself to forget that my life is definitely not going to be as long as those others, I won't get anywhere. My life may be different from others, but it is a life in progress. That is how I rationalize it. I down the usual handful of pills, trying to push the sudden dreary feeling out of my head. Then I prepare to head out to class early, as usual. As I step into the hallway, I notice Kenji coming around the hallway corner, steadily making his way over to his own room with a large bag, as he sneaks past me soundlessly like a ninja hiding in plain sight. I call out to him. Hey. He jumps at the sound of my voice.
Oh, hey man, I didn't notice you there. I'm really tired.
I think it's more like he didn't see me, but that's not the issue. Where have you been this early? Shopping?
Nah, I wasn't shopping. Sometimes I have to visit the math teacher. Yeah, I figured it'd be a good idea to find out when the next exam is, since he tells you in advance if you want.
So then, what's in the bag?
I thought I'd go shopping while I was outside. I need supplies to continue the fight against the fast feminist conspiracy.
Okay. I thought you didn't go outside.
I wear a hat now.
Oh. Which she's clearly not wearing. Just want to point that out. I decided not to point out the fact that he's not wearing a hat. Alright, excellent. Excellent. Thank God. Thank you, video game. I looked away from his screen because I was face palming. And I'm like, he's not wearing a hat. And then I read the text, and lo and behold, the prophecy comes true. I am starting to think like a sow. Yeah. Here we go. An awkward silence settles between us, and then Kenji breaks it up to pushing his door open slowly, releasing a creaking sound into the air that only makes the moment seem more awkward. He sets the bag down inside his room and then closes the door. I'm surprised you went out of your way to find out a test date. trying to take advantage of an opportunity to study is pretty diligent.
I never study.
Oh?
I just wanted to know when the next test day was. I'm still going to take it, duh. I need to know so I know what day I can't afford to skip class. He usually sends out updates on that crap by phone, so I had to step out and check up on it.
And why do you have to go out when you can get it on your phone?
I don't carry a phone.
What do you mean you don't carry a phone? You mean you just leave it at home?
Nah, I don't use phones. I don't have a phone. Phones, I have no phone.
Why don't you have a phone? How can you not have a phone? No phone at all? No phone? What am I having a seizure here? Like, what the hell just happened there?
I just don't like phones. Actually, I'm kind of scared of them. I don't know why. I think it's some kind of repressed trauma.
Oh. Are we going down this rabbit hole? I said to myself today, it's a new day. I'm gonna go record and I'm gonna enjoy a nice quiet moment with Hanako and Lily, but what do I get? I get Kenji, the guy that killed me last time. Oh boy. All right, let's continue.
But basically, when I hear a phone, I get nervous. It's my darkest secret.
Wait, so how did he order a pizza? Did he order it online, I guess? But maybe does he have a computer? There's so many questions. There's so many questions about this.
I have two theories on it. Either I have some fear of receiving some undefined, ominous, life-altering doom call, or I was beaten with a phone in the past. Beaten so badly, I can't remember.
Beaten in the head?
Well, where else could I get beaten with a phone that would make me unable to remember it? The ass?
Unexpectedly logical. I feel very depressed now. Sensing this conversation is more or less over, Kenji opens his door again and prepares to head inside.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to sleep, dude. Have a good one.
Class is going to start in like 20 minutes.
I already did something today. Too tired to go to school. Hey, you need some lip balm? I accidentally bought two because I thought the store had started selling individual AA batteries.
Oh boy. I love him, and I hate him at the same time. It's a complicated relationship I have with Kenji. Thanks, but no thanks.
Whatever, man.
He swiftly enters his lair, finally letting me go to class. For a change, I'm not amongst the first ones to come to morning class. Instead, almost everyone else seems to be here already. I recognize most of my class by their faces now, though the names escape me still. The class goes on lazily. I think I'm starting to get into the rhythm of the school. I have even stopped worrying about taking notes and being overtly attentive. The first days, I was pretty high-strung in class. Muno finishes his lecture about electricity early, but continues without a pause about the festival. So, as you know, the festival is on the day after tomorrow. I hope everyone's projects are going to be successful this year. Have a good time, but also, come Sunday, please keep the meaning of this festival in your minds.
Game and fried food!
Everyone bursts out into laughter, and so do I. Yes, thank you, Mikado. But what I meant was, the remainder of his sentence is buried beneath the ring of the lunch bells, and everyone starts packing their things. Muto deliberates for a moment, but since nobody seems to be paying attention anymore, he gives up and sits down. It's crowded in the hallway, or as crowded as hallways in this school probably get. Most of the students seem to be heading down for the cafeteria.
Asal! I'm gonna make you a one-time only super extra special lunch offer. Emmy's homemade lunch boxes, and the privilege of enjoying them in private with two bombshell beauties.
Her overly flirtatious sales pitch echoes in the hallway, a remarkable feat since it's full of people. Emmy strikes a very confident-looking pose, as an attempt to one-up her own ridiculousness, puffing her very modest chest and making the V for victory sign with her hand. Sounds delicious. To what do I owe this honor of being invited?
You stood there looking really lost and sad, so I thought you could use some company.
That is probably the most depressing reasoning imaginable.
So, how about it? Probably really lonely and would eat that awful cafeteria food all alone otherwise. I'm kidding.
Sure, I'll have your lunch off. I'll have your lunch offer with pleasure.
Let's go to the roof.
The roof? Why the roof?
Because that's where we eat lunch. And if I don't get up there, then she'll probably wander off, and I just know she'll go hungry because she never packs a lunch for herself.
Who will?
Come with me.
Without answering my question or waiting for a response, she grabs me by the arm and drags me through the hallway. I attempt to make conversation on the way. Why do you have an extra lunch? Emmy smiles guiltily.
Actually, it's yesterday's lunch. I slipped in a run at lunch and forgot to eat it.
Huh. The stairway to the roof is a little dilapidated, but it's clearly been used recently. At the top of the stairs is a door, complete with missing padlock. I wonder who the intrepid individual was that removed the lock. Emmy shoves the door open and steps beaming into the sunlight. Suddenly, a tall, dark stranger appears out of nowhere, standing imposingly in front of us. Emmy flinches back, almost falling back down the stairs. Eek. Hello. We know who that is.
Yipes, you scared me, Rin.
Wait, isn't she?
Hello.
Noticing that Rin is speaking to me, Emmy looks curiously at me.
You two know each other?
I look confusedly at Emmy. She's that friend of yours? Rin has turned her gaze towards the clouds drifting above the school.
I didn't know that you knew this person, Emmy.
The awkward silence lasts only for a few seconds until Emmy lets out a tiny giggle, shrugging the coincidence off.
I invited us out for lunch. If you know him, that's just better. Oh, does this mean I don't get lunch? Or did you invite him for lunch without the lunch? Neither. I have food for 3. Nice thinking.
I walk to the other end of the roof while I stay at the clock tower for a while, taking in the atmosphere. There's nobody else but us here. I guess the roof is not as popular as it is in other schools. A few rundown benches and tables are scattered around the edges, perhaps in an attempt to make the roof look less desolate. The small pebbles covering the roof rattle beneath our feet. I peek through the chain-link fence to take a look at the school grounds and beyond. Students are strolling in pairs and groups around the quadrangle. Jesus. That word always screws me up, and I really need to look up the proper definition for that word. I'm assuming that it is like usually a courtyard that has maybe a fountain or a statue or something in the middle, and it separates into 4 paths. You know, sort of like a compass. That's what I'm thinking of, but at the same time I could be completely wrong. So I'll look that word up. Maybe I'll put it on the screen right now so you guys don't have to look it up later. You know, and for myself, you know, so it reminds me of doing. I'll just continue. A few delivery trucks are driving past the school towards the convenience store nearby. Somewhere, a watchdog barks at a passerby. Somehow, when I look towards the town center, the small town feel strikes me very strongly, almost palpably. The hectic lifestyle of big metropolises seems so far away and foreign here. Nobody has to run to catch a bus like their life depended on it, or get their senses overloaded by the neon lights and traffic jams. I feel surprisingly optimistic about this new life of mine, looking at my new hometown, even if it's going to be mine for only 1 short year. Finding out about my illness and having to move away from home all came so suddenly, I haven't had time to think how I feel about it. When I step out of the shadows of the clock tower to the open, I feel warmth touch my back. The sun shines from a perfectly clear cerulean sky. A cool breeze sweeps over the rooftop, makes me shiver, but only briefly. The wind carries the scent of trees and flowers, not smog and car exhausts like it used to just a few weeks ago. Emmy settles on a bench with Rin in tow and produces one big and two small lunchboxes from her bag.
Come on, Asao. What are you waiting for?
She's beckoning me to join them, making room on the already small bench. I set myself on the corner of the bench to take a little space as possible. It's pretty cramped, but somehow all three of us fit on it. Impressive view. Emmy suppresses a giggle and places a lunchbox in front of Rin and hands another lunchbox to me.
Here you go. Lunch as promised.
Homemade, no less. I'm impressed. Wow, this looks really good.
Thanks. I'm making myself when I can.
Conversation dies off as I set about the business of feeding myself. Taking a few bites, I glance up and notice Rin deftly opening her lunchbox and propping a forkful of food into her mouth using only her feet. Even though I've seen it before, I can't help but be impressed at her dexterity. It's also a reminder of the sort of place I am in right now. Will I ever get used to the sight of such things? I can't decide if getting used to such a thing would be a good thing or a bad thing either. Does getting used to this place mean that I'm giving up being a normal person? Or does it mean that I'm becoming more understanding about those around me? I'm distracted from my thoughts by the sight of Emmy tearing into her lunch as if it had insulted her ancestors. You seem pretty hungry. Emmy looks up, mouth half full, and swallows before nodding.
My morning run always works up an appetite. Which is great, because then I burn through lunch pretty quickly. Helps me keep my girlish figure.
What would happen if you'd lose it? Would you become a man? I very nearly choke on my lunch, trying not to laugh.
It's a figure of speech.
Does your figure have to run in the mornings too? Do you always talk like this?
Talk like what? Talk like what?
I'm sorry, I can't do them both at the same time. I am only one single voice actor in a world full of voices. Oh man, I wish I was a voice actor. I guess I'm an amateur voice actor. There. I can classify myself as an AVA. Yeah. I think that answers my question. Never mind. So, I struggle to think of small talk and settle on the obvious question. How'd you two meet? Rin seems content to let Emmy answer this question.
Someone in the housing department thought it would be that we'd complement each other well. So we were assigned rooms next to one another.
Complement each other?
Like shoes in a suit.
Huh? Emmy giggles at my confusion.
Put us together and we've got all our limbs. Get it?
Ah.
So I started helping Rin get ready in the mornings, and that was that. I mean, you can't help someone get dressed every morning and not get along.
I see. Rin chooses this moment to interject.
I have trouble with shirts.
Right, that seems fairly obvious.
Really?
Kind of? This isn't helping, but at least Emmy seems to find the whole thing funny. That, combined with the fact that Rin is genuinely curious, makes me feel slightly better and yet confused. I mean, you've got no arms, so putting on a shirt seems like one of those things that would be difficult. You know what? I'm just gonna stop talking now. It'll save me a lot of trouble in the long run. Rin nods in what I suspect is meant to be in a sage manner.
I see.
Conversation dies as I turn my attention back to my lunch. It's really quiet. It's really quite good. Well, not quiet. I'm like, I'm just basking in the sereneness. Emmy finishes her lunch first and makes a content noise.
Ah, that was good.
As she busies herself with cleaning up her lunch, Rin speaks up.
I'm thirsty. Oh, I almost forgot about that. Sorry.
With a flourish, she reaches into her bag and removes a trio of juice boxes. She tosses me one that appears to be cranberry juice, one to Rin that appears to be some kind of strawberry milk, complete with pink-colored scheme, and keeps an equally pink box of some kind of fruit punch for herself. Rin dexterously stabs her straw through the top of her box and begins to drink. I'm once again impressed by how flexible she is, but this time I keep my comment to myself. Somehow I don't think either Emmy or Rin are the sort of people to think twice about the way that they work around their particular disabilities. Rin especially so. Indeed, she gives off the impression of being entirely unaware that she is missing any limbs at all. Whether or not that is a conscious decision is another matter. I'm honestly not sure.
So, Hisao, how do you like it up here?
It's quite nice, actually. I like high places for the view. Thanks for inviting me up here. And for lunch, too. Emmy grins a 1,000-watt grin, pleased by my response, I suppose.
No problem. Feel free to eat with us next time, too, okay?
I won't make you
lunch, but you can bring your own up here.
No lunch service? I don't know. Emmy looks mock offended.
Trying to take advantage of my good nature? The nerve!
She giggles.
Well, if that's your answer, I guess Ren and I will just keep eating lunch all alone.
I am suddenly assaulted by the most heart-rendering puppy dog eyes I have ever seen. As Emmy pouts. Kidding! I was kidding! I'd love to eat lunch up here again. Good location, and the company's okay, too. Emmy frowns a bit at the declaration of okay, but seems happy enough that I've accepted her invitation. I guess this makes us friends now. Or at least, acquaintances. Lunch bell rings, signaling a return downstairs.
Rin, you didn't finish your lunch again. I wasn't hungry. If you don't eat more, you're going to fade away.
Rin shrugs as if this is an acceptable risk. Oh, poor Rin. Come on, we better get going. The three of us head down the stairs together. The afternoon class passes once again, and I find myself without a plan for something to do after school, so I head to the library to return a couple of books I finished reading. Alright, and with that, I will see you guys next time, so take care and stay frosty.